Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below this video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you both. And Arwin. Hey Arwin.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hey, Owen.
Just in time.
Just
rounded out the Flat Earth Early Bird episode 3. Had a long hour conversation with Eric Bushen. It was really, really good. So please, after these shows, go and listen to it. It was great.
What's that show called again, Arwin?
Flat Earth
name of
Early
it?
Bird. The show
Early
before this
Bird.
one. Right.
On Arwin.
Indeed.
Cool.
I'm gonna do this. If this keeps it up, man, there's no problem for me. I'm gonna do this every day. So 1 hour before the Flat Earth debates.
So check that out. That's on Arwin's channel. It's called
Indeed.
Early Bird.
Flat Earth Early Bird.
Flat Earth Early Bird. My bad. Yeah, there's been a few shows, so if you want to check it out, just search for Flat Earth Early Bird and you'll come straight to Arwin's morning early show, hence the name. So,
Really? Does it work?
say again?
No, I'm gonna check it if it actually pops up in the search results right away. Let's see.
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, in the YouTube search.
I would imagine so. I can't imagine any of the shows that are called Flat Earth Early Bird. Not that it's particularly early for us in Europe.
You have a debate called The Early Bird that pops up first, and then like 2 shows after I see Flat Earth Early Bird 2. So yeah, first page.
Excellent.
Yay.
Hooray! Anyway, hello guys.
Hello.
Chocolate Saiyan, Riley.
Full of pep. Full of pep after your show. We're all warmed up for us, Arwin. Excellent.
Indeed.
Good to know. So, any signs of curvature? Let's just get housekeeping out of the way. Any signs of curvature?
No.
No.
Oh,
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No. Definitely.
Sorry.
No. Any evidence you can have a gas pressure without a container for all the space believers out there?
No.
No. Maybe in the outer atmosphere.
Maybe. Any evidence of that?
Well, no, there's as much evidence for it as against it. We don't know how high up it goes. So.
Very useful.
Indeed.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
No, just aberrations.
No aberrations either.
Yeah, the aberrations.
No, there's not.
Yeah. No, aberration fits the description technically. It's exactly what it is. Phenomena that have no correlation with each other but do suggest so heavily.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
There is no distance to the sun.
nope.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
I love it every time you
Definitely
say
no.
no.
No. What about the R value? Has anybody come up with any
no.
evidence of Earth radius?
No.
Everything is R based. everything.
Well, not Earth as a sphere.
It's just ridiculous.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Arwin.
But you can adapt
Everything that they
everything to
present is
R.
based on the presupposition of R. Yes, absolutely correct, Arwin. Sorry, it took me a few seconds to get what you were saying. Correct. It's all based on a presupposition of R. It doesn't matter what they give you. Equatorial mounts, R. Earth curve, R. Doesn't matter, you name it. It all revolves around R.
Yeah, floors are.
Yeah, floor, absolutely.
Warehouses are.
Floor.
Football fields are.
Football field, R. Absolutely correct. So much R presupposing going on. It's unreal. R, that is.
It's just surrounded by R.
That concludes housekeeping.
Easy. See, now isn't that easy when we all have this like harmony? Really nice.
Beautiful.
Do you know what I've noticed?
What's that?
You know, like everything these days is Bluetooth connectivity, right? You can connect Bluetooth to pretty much anything. Do you know one technology that's not been applied, that Bluetooth has not been applied to, it seems?
Fax
I'm
machines?
trying to find a
Fax machines?
rechargeable Bluetooth keyboard. Not keyboard for the PC, keyboard as in Yamaha keyboard.
Why would you want that?
They don't exist. Wouldn't you think that they'd have a battery powered that you charge it up at the wall, sure, but when you don't need to, like, you don't want it at the wall, it's just literally you unplug it and then you can put it anywhere you want. And you don't even have to wire it, like manually wire it to something. You could just Bluetooth it to something. Doesn't seem to exist. It's like, what? Why has that not become a thing yet?
What?
I don't know. I'll contact Yamaha immediately.
I'm on it.
It's these
Anyway.
important details about the flat Earth that if we didn't have this show, they just wouldn't get discussed.
I know. Oh,
So while you were off for a couple of days, one of the things that came up, Anthony, was the lack of discussion about the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Because when you think about that particular bit of housekeeping, probably the oldest one, that was the first real win, wouldn't you agree? Can't really count Hank Hill with the distance to the sun because it was so convoluted in the actual debate.
sorry, you'll have to ask that question concisely again. The dog was kicking off with something in the background.
Nathan, are you saying that the discussion about the Earth core has cooled down?
Oh, boom, boom. It has indeed, that particular discussion. Hey, Warren. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Eric. Hey, howdy, hey.
Hey, Eric.
What was the question, Nathan, about something to do
The
with Hank
question
Hill
is-
and the stars?
Well, I'll give it again. So basically, if you don't count Hank Hill with the distance to the sun, I would say that the oldest housekeeping question is actually the molten iron core question. Wouldn't you
I
agree?
think it might be.
Because it was the first sort of smash it out of the park by you with Paul Voigt, where it got concluded, you smashed it out of the park, he never came back. There's never been anything presented since, and it's now a housekeeping question. But it's a very, very good subject in the respect that when you think about it conceptually, if I say to a random guy on the street, are you aware of the molten iron core at the centre of Earth? They'd say, hey, music.
Hey, let me just pause this quickly.
You need to mute your watch page.
You're having some feedback.
You need to mute your watch page.
Come on, music, you know the rules.
So if you said to a guy on the street, are you aware that there's a molten iron core at the centre of Earth? They'd probably say yes. I'd say there's an 80% chance they'd say yes. Would you agree with that? Just to sort of throw it out there.
I think so.
Right. But in terms of conceptualization, Math Powerland's exceptionally good conceptualization of saying you'll never get to see the Earth from space, notwithstanding that as a really cracking way of making somebody conceptualize the idea that the Earth might not be as it's been presented, the molten iron core is an even bigger mind trip when you start to get people to say, well, why would you believe that? Why would you be under the understanding that we have a molten iron core?
Well, we get to see only, isn't it interesting? We only get to see a few lava places, and I'm wondering if they're real, like Hawaii and a couple of, like, why do we, nobody sees lava?
I don't know about that.
It's not all over the earth.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Well, there's only a few places.
Some people
Where,
said
where can we see bubbling lava?
Some people think that the lava doesn't come from volcanoes; it comes from tubes.
I don't know, but why
Either
isn't
way,
it all over?
I mean, I can understand speculating about lava because it's on the surface. Okay, I'll have to say it like this: it may or may not be real, whatever. But the molten iron core most definitely has never been demonstrated, explored. You know, it's just make believe in the truest sense.
Yeah. They do it based on seismology, right? And we know that the predictions that they made with the seismological graphs and things that they did for the Kola super deep borehole, they made 4 predictions and all 4 turned out to be wrong. They got it wrong. And it's like, that's not a good showman for seismology, yet that's the citation for the claim that we live on a sphere. Well,
Event Horizon.
Sadly not.
Yeah, it's just nonsense, you know.
Seismologist. Yes. Sounds like another job creation more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said that you could assess without anything in between from one side of the states to the other with the technology used for seismology, you'd just laugh, wouldn't you? You know, forget about the fact that there's nothing in between you and, you know, the plane on the other side. I'm not talking about Earth curve, in other words. I'm just talking about using that equipment to look at something, I don't know, 1,000 miles away, or I don't know, 500 miles away. But yet when they're blasting stuff into the earth, suddenly it's supposed to be believable.
Yes, it's just, it's a subjective truth that people accept as generic and objective, and it's like, well, it's not even true, but people seem to believe it, and it's like, that's the best that they've got for the molten iron core.
You got any
to
pictures?
be fair, it did go a little bit further, didn't it? GeoStreamer cited sodium as, when you melt sodium, it's got a low melting point. So when you melt sodium into its liquid state, if you spin it, it does create its own charge. It requires it to be spun, which like you would need to be spinning to be able to create charge. But there's no evidence that iron can do it. And they say, well, they're both similar in technique or both similar in properties. Well, that may be true, but a cat and a dog are similar. Doesn't make them the same thing, does it? It's like there's no evidence that iron can do it. No evidence that nickel can do it. And that's the constituent elements, the 2 main constituent elements of the core. So it's like...
There's a huge disconnect. They're saying that the core is melting rock at a temperature that's higher than the melting point of iron. So why can we not melt rock, but the Earth is? I'm missing something.
Did
Did they ever say how they came up with whatever the hell that's supposed to be? Like, how did they figure out that it's an iron core?
Well,
because it has to be because of magnetics. Remember?
They got boiling hydrogen mud out of the Kola super deep borehole, and they didn't get anywhere near like the iron deposits that they were hoping for. But hydrogen, they weren't expecting. It was totally unexpected.
And they have a way that correlates with creating gravity on the planet. I never understood that.
They have a way. It doesn't correlate with it though.
I mean, it just makes no sense.
No, it's a make-believe story that sounds logical and reasonable, and generally it's accepted. But when you scratch the surface, you realise that the evidence to support the belief is nonsense.
Just fascinating. So, why would there be hydrogen in that mud?
That's one of the things that was most surprising. They were gobsmacked by it.
The only thing I know about hydrogen is that it tends to come into existence through radioactivity, apparently, so said. And yeah, it's in the upper atmosphere. So why is it down there?
That was one of the most pronounced discoveries that they were most shocked by, because they were expecting like iron deposits and nickel deposits, because that's what's supposed to be below where we're drilling, right? And they got boiling hydrogen mud, it was described. And well, I guess hydrogen and oxygen are the constituent elements for water, and they did find waters of the deep, what they call waters of the deep, but it went a lot deeper than what they were expecting it. And really, with the pressure that's supposed to be down there that they were expecting, they weren't expecting water to be able to survive in that pressure, because it should be pushed up towards the surface. But for some reason, it went a lot deeper than what it actually did. And that was another one of the major claims that they predicted would not be the case. But when it turned out that they were getting water out and it was really deep depths, again, that went totally against what they were expecting.
And it wouldn't thrust upwards? Like oil, for example?
Yeah, boiling hydrogen mud was like erupting out of the hole.
But tell me, like, boiling hydrogen mud, like, was there mud down there, or was the hydrogen within the rock and they just drilled it into mud? Like, what was down there?
They called it boiling hydrogen mud, and I think they were trying to say that it is like the mixture that came out, whatever that was. They best described it as mud because it kind of looked like mud, but I think they really meant the word compound, because whatever was coming out was boiling hydrogen, kind of looked like mud. But it was totally unexpected. So whether mud is the right word or not, I don't think they mean it in the sense that we normally use it.
It was just, crushed, drilled rock dust with hydrogen in it.
Well, this
so
is
it's
now
probably not mud. It was not like a deposit of mud they suddenly drilled into.
No, not mud in that context, no.
Exactly.
So if you move beyond seismology, what you need to do to get more accuracy is to go up. So you need the double whammy of bollocks, which is to go to the satellite data. According to that, you've got jet stream in the molten iron core. Amazing what you can discover from going up higher.
And just in case anybody's not sure, that's not a real picture, but it's probably passed off as real. So, did anybody watch Iron Realm Media? Adam Meekin on Iron Realm Media last night?
Yep. I did.
Yeah.
I did. You were awesome, Anthony.
No, I was going to say Mike. I was on about Mike Devlin. He was on as well just prior to me.
Did you see the voting, by the way? That was so weird.
Did you see that, Nathan?
That was so weird. It just was almost like Google video level interference.
The voting was getting reset. It reset twice in the show for some reason.
No, it just kept. It was default 0, and the only upvote you could see was your own. A lot of people confirmed that. It was like 14 down and 1 up if you upvoted. That's it.
I guess Nathan's not paying attention.
It's nothing. It's nothing to do with flat Earth.
It has to do with YouTube interference.
Yeah.
Manipulation.
Well, no, just glitches.
No,
I remember
it's not just a glitch.
When I was at the height of my paranoia, so very recently into flat Earth, over 3 years ago, I interviewed Math Powerland, and it all went out live and had a good audience, probably slightly better than what we've got now, 170 people watching. It was over 200 people watching me interview Math Powerland. He'd been on hiatus, hadn't done any interviews for quite some time, so it was good news for me and my channel. Anyway, after a 2-hour, 50-minute interview, it went to render, and then when it rendered, it was 50 minutes long, and there's an entire chunk cut out. Now, it kept my intro and kept my ending, but cut out a massive chunk in the middle. Huge. And you can literally go from one section where he's in daylight while I'm interviewing him to cutting to me, cutting back to him, and it's pitch black outside. And then the show ends. And I was heartbroken. I'm like, maybe they're targeting us. So, of course, I just went and researched it. And, of course, it affected loads of different YouTubers, bloody makeup people and various other shit that has no interest to me. But people were affected that weren't Flat Earth related. So it's just a YouTube issue.
Yeah,
So
but this is not the same. This is not a video transferring issue. This is live voting rigging, basically.
So the big question is, did you lose the video?
Did I lose the video? Yeah, I lost 2 hours of it.
Yeah.
Damn.
That sucks.
Guess you should always have a secondary recording and not rely on YouTube, I guess.
Now I do. But at the time, I'd probably been doing interviews for less than 6 months. Very new to it. Most people who go out and just use Hangouts today wouldn't set up OBS and separate streaming and recording facilities and a desk and all that sort of stuff. They just run a Hangout like I did. So it's just one of those, though. Upsetting, but just one of those things.
Do you actually think it's a algorithm AI thing, or do you think Or do you not think there's some physical person actively
There's
trickery?
physical activity in terms of people. They'll change parts of the algorithm that will just affect everybody in a blanket way. So I don't think anybody's ever individually targeted by a YouTube operative. I just don't think that happens. There's just too many YouTubers.
Well, yeah, but most of them are doing makeup things and game things that they.
Yeah, all I'm
There
saying
are
is
people
random.
keeping track, okay, of certain groups, and they just keep track of what's going on. And if there is a worrisome development that counteracts their agenda, they will interfere.
Engage. Yeah,
Why?
a physical
It's
person.
happening on a political level, very, very obviously, but it also happens more silently in the background.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy this algorithm AI narrative. I'm certain there's real physical individuals engaged in this stuff.
No,
Yeah,
but they
engage
said
with
they
changing
create
the
the
algorithm.
settings.
There's individual people that are engaged in changing the algorithm, but they're not targeting individual YouTubers, is what I'm saying.
Right. But the algorithm may target individual YouTubers.
And it's just an algorithm. You tell it to do something and it does it, or it goes wrong.
Right. Yeah, but where it gets its instructions, you have to.
Yeah, that's where the people come in.
There are like keywords, things that are said that are identified, and then because of a combination of these factors, an individual might become a target because they just have too many keywords they use.
Not at all.
constantly.
Did you not do this in like high school IT? Garbage in, garbage out.
What do you mean?
If someone puts together a screwy algorithm that does something incorrectly, things go wrong. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Yeah, but that's when everything becomes random and glitchy. That happens sometimes. Come on, we've been all through it. That YouTube went all over the place at times. But that's not the same. That's not the same as targeting channels that do specific things at certain time intervals and then just downvote it to keep it off the attention scale.
I don't know, I think just there's a lot of paranoia, especially in the community realm, as I would class Flat Earth, the community realm, the truther realm, the truther community realm. There you go. I'll get there in the end. I'd say there's just a lot of conspiratorial, paranoid people. I think everyone's, they think people are watching them, and it is true. Literally, nearly a couple of hundred people watching you right now. It doesn't mean that YouTube operatives are watching you. They might be interested in Flat Earth, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Well, this show is not being censored. We're just being trolled mostly. So, but I don't know. Look, I think that Riley is onto something huge, and doesn't necessarily mean that he will win or anything with what he's going to accomplish. But just because you are discovering this new ground, this new territory, the legal territory for Flat Earth, that is a huge thing, I think. And I think that some of the controllers are just terrified of this. And that's a potential good reason to basically tone down the upvotes during a live presentation, because it might get a momentum. And to prevent that, just rig it.
Bollocks.
So
Just
I do
total bollocks.
believe that
Total
it wasn't
bollocks.
just a coincidence.
It's just
'cause
people
that doesn't
watching.
happen a lot.
That's down to the
This
people
time,
watching.
Riley was
People
gonna
thumbing
come
up,
and
thumbing down, and it getting lost, and then it coming back on again. But that doesn't mean or imply anything nefarious whatsoever.
No, but that's another example. I'm talking about this specific issue that was present, that the voting system just didn't work. And there was 14 downvotes, didn't grow less, and one upvote if you upvoted. And that was just click, that was it. That's not normal. That's not it used to be a lot more, so it was just completely erased.
Yeah, that bit I'll agree with, but the extrapolation thereafter, that there's some sort of nefarious intent because of our motivations or our implied success that we may have in the future. Nah.
Well, what do you think it could have been done for?
Just a glitch. Who cares? That's what my attitude is. Happened the other day on this show. You look on my little button that tells me how many people are watching live, and it says 18 people are watching. You look in the phone, it says 30 people watching. You look on the live stream, and it says 170 watching. And then you go back 2 minutes later, and it says 200 watching. And you're like, the numbers for the views live are all screwed up. That's as far as because that's apparent and obvious. So that's the only conclusion you can draw, that it's messed up at that moment.
That's a live analysis. It has to do. It can screw up in that. So connection based, but upvoting is a very specific action based. That's not something that's like vague or could have connection problems. It's just a simple basic registry. So there's no reason to block this. Unless there was like an extreme troll vote that just voted millions of times or something out of nothing. But maybe that was it.
Okay,
Maybe
no worries. Let's take that
troll
to its
was
logical conclusion,
Netflix.
Arwin. So you're saying that because of whatever implied success that there was in that particular instance, somebody has been set to task to change the voting system to skew public opinion?
Yes.
That's what you're implying, right?
It's
I
more
would-
common than you would think.
I'd have to kind of agree.
Sounds like paranoia.
Well,
People are paid to do this.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You think someone at Google is paid to mess with the downvotes on
I mean,
IRL
Nathan,
media's
you're
live stream?
familiar with the Israeli lobby paying students like to just in comment section. So why not? I mean,
That's different. That's different. That's people.
Why?
So, in the same way as when we talk about fake views, so let's talk about Simon Dan and his fake viewers and fake subs, right? Fake means not an organic interaction with his content. That's what I mean by fake. But somebody at some point must have watched that video, or it being clicked on, or autoplayed that number of times for it to register that number of views. Now, that's not to say that they're authentic, but it does mean that somebody on their device, logged in to an account, has had that play on their screen. So you can say they're real. It's easy to justify when you're being sold fake views that they're real views. They're not. But they are, if you look at it in a certain way. So, yeah. The fake nature of it is just too ridiculous to extrapolate out that somebody's literally sitting and watching our live streams and messing with things like likes and dislikes or the view count, because I just don't think it makes any difference. You're far more likely to have, like you say, students in Pakistan or wherever who are deliberately interacting with maybe the chat to sway public opinion, because they can literally interact with people there and then, or go in and give it more ups or down votes. You know, same on Reddit. This has been shown to be true. So I don't dispute that. But that's very different to just a messed up liking system or view count system. It's just a YouTube glitch.
Or
Could be.
I mean,
don't know.
I don't know. Maybe if I pay enough money, I can put like 300 dislikes or 400 dislikes on your videos if I wanted, or like
Yeah, you can.
depending
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or you can, I think, I don't know what the limit is. I think it may be 10 a day last time somebody was telling me about it. But you can set up as many sock accounts as you like. And you could potentially build up I don't know what you'd call it, a database of sock accounts. And you could have hundreds. And literally, if you were so inclined, repeatedly sign into all of them one at a time and dislike the video. Yeah, you can do that if you want. Don't
write
care,
the script.
but
I mean,
people
write
can
a
do
script
that.
and you can make like thousands a day or more. You know, automate everything.
And if someone's so inclined, they dislike the show so much that they are willing to go to the effort of signing into multiple accounts to dislike it, more power to you.
Yeah, but it means more views,
Right.
doesn't it?
Cancel it out.
But I just don't think, I honestly don't think that there's if anything, YouTube, I would say, promotes free speech as opposed to censoring it.
Right. Could be. I don't know. Maybe you're right, Nathan. I don't know.
Maybe.
Sometimes,
It's just my opinion.
sometimes they do. Like Alex Jones.
Hey, Jose.
Yo, I just gave you a dislike to the show just because you were talking about it.
Thanks a bunch.
I don't know. I would say that mostly it is algorithms, but I'm not opposed to the idea that there are real people in YouTube, or let's say even government, that have access to the back end of YouTube to just mess up content in a number of ways, like not allowing you to record a huge segment, just disappearing it. I'm not opposed to the idea that there are people tasked to screw up content, subject matter.
Sure, I don't doubt for 1 second that, for example, and demonstrably, if you had a slightly embarrassing live stream, you could go in and maybe edit out a section and not have it display as uploaded rather than live streamed, so it would appear to any cursory glance that it's a live streamed event, even though you've gone in after the fact through the back door on YouTube and edited it. Now for me, if I go and edit a video, it immediately loses the live chat and it immediately shows as uploaded rather than live streamed because it's been edited. But that's not the case for SpaceX. Lucky old them.
Yeah.
Well, that I could imagine would need some wheels greasing, shall we say? Well, that might be a costly exercise, I speculate. But ultimately speaking, if you're going to invest your time into doing something slightly nefarious, that would be it. Not messing with Iron Realm or me or Jaren or anybody else for that matter. It's just small potatoes as far as I can, that might be different in 5 years, but I don't think they've got anything to worry about really, honestly.
I do have some news.
Oh, here we go.
There appears to have been a death. It appears that Mark Doxey might have removed his channel. There are no signs of Mark Doxey on the YouTube anymore.
What?
Yeah, his channel's apparently gone.
Well, let's all have a moment to appreciate the gravity of the situation.
So it's one of two choices. Either he deleted the channel or he got stroke. I mean, he got a strike for something like, I don't know, something might have happened, yeah.
I reckon he realised that the gravity thing might not be true, and but rather than admit it and say, do you know what, guys, maybe I didn't get that right, he just thought, fuck it, I'm out. It's just interesting timing, though, because he'd only just had the meet with, I know Travis didn't go, but if Travis was to go, if he did go, then wouldn't you have expected Mark to be on a high rather than a low?
Maybe just got sick of trolls and just thought, I sod this. I can't be bothered with YouTube.
I don't know why.
Still, as an honest person, I say myself, if I find something, if I just change my mind, let's say if I go to Pontchartrain and I see the Bendy Bridge with my own eyes and something clicks in my heart and I say like, shit, it's a freaking, it's curved. So there's the proof of curve that we're looking for. I mean, I might catch it and maybe I react in the way that, yeah, flat Earth is dead. I mean, maybe, who knows? It's a 50-50 chance, right? I'm not going to just hang up the gloves and just delete my channel or just disappear. I will show up. I will speak up, I think that's the best approach. Like Chris Monk-Sealy, he should have spoken. He should have shown his face and said, like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not going to show up no more, but this is what I concluded. And I don't know. I think that's the most honest approach. If somebody find that a paradigm shift, that everything changes, that person, if he's active on YouTube, should speak up and then just disappear if they want to,
Let me just pick on one thing that he just said. If you went back to Pontchartrain, it's a 50-50 chance. I'm going to change that to it's like millions to one that you'll get what he got.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm looking forward for it, for real.
Hold on, there's got to be a reason behind that. So why would you put it in the millions to one, Anthony?
Because it's not real. It's stuff like whatever's going on with his. If his stuff is real, right, it's got to have been cherry picked at a particular time when weird stuff happens, right? But realistically speaking, if you were just to randomly turn up on a relatively clear day, plonk your camera down, he's only looking 16 miles, you should be able to see that most days. you're not going to get the same result. So to get the same result, like every time that he does it, the way he makes it out as though it's dead easy to do, that's you're more likely to find.
Well, the easier
Think
comparison is he's looking at z-axis, right? And we're always going on about x-axis curvature, i.e. the left to right axis as opposed to the front to back axis. Don't care if I've labelled them wrong, it makes no difference to my example. But when you look at the Isle of Man, you've got a considerably wider left to right expanse than 16 miles. Yeah. Now, if that Pontchartrain footage is to be believed over that limited a distance, then you would expect to see the same exact curve on the x-axis from left to right as you pan across the horizon. If the Earth is a sphere and it is that leading edge, the horizon, that is actually the leading edge of the sphere causing an obstruction in their narrative, in their bullshit world of presupposing R, then you would expect the exact same curvature to be demonstrable from left to right. It's no different. It's a sphere. It's the same in all directions. So if you can photograph the curve going away from you, ignoring perspective and ignoring all atmospheric conditions, then you should get the exact same effect going from left to right, and you do not. Because the horizon is an apparent position where the sky meets the ground. It's not the leading edge of a sphere.
Well, there's a lot of things that should happen if we live on a sphere and we don't see them. And somehow you got these morons telling everybody that there's so much evidence for a sphere. And I'm like, well, what evidence is there? Crickets. But they tell people that there's lots of evidence. It's like, really? So
yeah, like the guy yesterday, that Mike guy. Oh, well, there's absolutely nothing to disagree with this belief that I have in the sphere. Well, what about the housekeeping questions?
Yeah. I mean, that guy yesterday, I really wanted to interject. I didn't really get a chance because Nathan was all over him. But, I mean, he said that he had no reason to depart from the heliocentric model. And it's like, well, okay, well, what's the reasons to stay with it? There are none. It's just a belief. But they can't accept it. It's like trying to convince them that Santa's fake when they believe that Santa's real, right? You try telling a kid that's 5 that Santa's not real, and he's going to fight you. Tell him at 12, and he's going to realize that for years he's realized, oh, bloody hell, I believe something that is not true. But tell him at 5, and he'll fight you for it. Well, they're all Santa believers at the age of about 7, because some of them have got a little bit of a doubt, but most of them realize that Santa, well, they think that heliocentricity is real in the same way that they believe that Santa's real. So most ballers have got a mental age of about 7.
Besides obstruction in buildings and mountains and structures in the distance, which one can conclude, one can just say is curvature, okay. But besides the obstruction, it's just the movements of the celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, the stars. So if you presuppose you're in a sphere, it's going to work as if you are in a sphere, pretty much. That's the more solid proof the globe has, the movements of the objects, of the lights in the sky, pretty much.
Oh.
Well, but the gears, they fit so well in each other that I can understand why many people believe it. I mean,
Zindy, you sound shit.
Really, really good.
Zindy, you sound shit. What's wrong with your mic?
I'm on the phone right now. I'm on an island in Thailand.
Right, okay.
Friend got sick.
Sorry, man. Carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. Carry on.
Really bad connection here. But with the celestial bodies and everything, it fits so perfectly, so well. When you look at it, like for a few times, right? For not that long. And when you look at the model, it fits so good. But when you start looking deeper, and then you have to add like dark matter and everything to the galaxies for them to work, I can understand why people question it.
Zinder's not a glober anymore. I think after coming back from Thailand, that's going to seal the deal.
I looked for inconsistencies in the heliocentric model when I looked at islands and so on, but I couldn't find any, sadly.
Did you look with your eyes?
Everything fitted the...
What did you look with your feet or your eyes?
I looked at how high it was, or what was the question? I didn't understand.
did you look with your feet or did you look with your eyes? Because if you didn't find inconsistencies with looking at islands over distance, then you must have been looking with your feet. And I've not got eyes in my feet, so I'm just wondering how you didn't find the inconsistencies.
No, I just looked at the island and I looked how far away it is, and then I put it in the curve calculator and looked if it should be visible or not, and it was visible when it should have been, and I couldn't see islands that were visible that shouldn't have been the other way around.
All right, well, come to Hoy Lake with me then, and I'll show you. Come to Hoy Lake with me, and I'll show you something that you shouldn't see on a ball.
Yeah.
Hold on, Zinda. Are you saying that because you've used a calculator that excludes perspective, and as far as we can ascertain, has completely hijacked perspective, the effects thereof, to assume radius, you're saying that affirms that you're on a ball?
No. I just said I couldn't find the inconsistency with the curvature calculator. I didn't say it confirms that I'm on a ball.
No, sure.
I mean,
it's a good calculator. Yeah. Whoever's figured it out has done a very good job. I'm not going to lie. It does seem to be pretty consistent with what you will observe. But I would assert that that's because they've observed the effects of the angle of attack and perspective, i.e. angular size at distance. And that's it. That's all they've done.
Yeah. So you think the curvature calculator could be used as a mathematical construct for the angle of attack? Things disappear.
It hides it. It doesn't take it into account.
Well, yeah, that's why when I call it the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, it's because the perspective hijacking bit is not mention perspective at all. It's not factored into the calculation because it essentially is the calculation. They've just rejigged the names and labels of what's actually occurring, and then given you the measurements in whole numbers, i.e. unrealistic figures. So the way they've done the calculator is to first put it into a view that isn't a viewing functional view. So they put it into orthographic, i.e. side on. That's the first thing. So that essentially excludes perspective from the calculation in the first instance. So you don't need... There's a justifiable reason to not have perspective in there. It's an orthographic view. That's how the calculation's done. As Rumpus puts it, it's not performing viewing functionality. Fine, so that's a justified excuse to not include perspective. But ultimately speaking, it's still representing a viewing function. Well, the viewing function that it's representing is perspective inclusive, absolutely without question. But that's where the magic trick lies. But in terms of how they've got the numbers to match what you actually see, that's where the magic of whoever the mathematician that put those calculations together actually lies. That's where the magic is. You know, the relabeling of the observable reality in terms of what happens with perspective. Things will reach that limited angle and start to obscure from the bottom up. Well, that's useful if you know that fact. You can easily engineer in the radius of Earth given a certain size, match it all up with the mathematics. When it doesn't work, which is in recent history, you know, prior to now, you didn't have the optical resolution to see as far as we could. So they needed to slap another layer of deception on, 7/6R, terrestrial refraction, to account for super zoom, as far as I can tell. Because without that extra little layer, the second layer of fallacy on the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, every observation would fail with a super zoom camera.
Hey guys, do we have established a rough maximum viewing with the naked eye or a P1000? Have we anything established?
Just go to the calculator, just put in your elevation into the curve calculator, and it will give you, as I say, a reasonable representation of what you will and won't see if you ignore the refraction part. That's probably closest to what you get out of the naked eye. That's why they put the horizon at 3 miles. It's about what you get from a 6-foot man if you look up the examples online. You know, they tally because that's probably what you got on a general day-to-day scale if you just looked out and could see what you could see.
So the calculator might be useful for farther distances in terms of the angle of attack or angle of view, but in terms of shorter distances, I think you can't apply it, right? I mean, you can't put it on like 100-meter distances and expect to see things disappearing due to the angle of view.
Well,
Or did I get
certainly
it wrong?
in experience, yeah. I mean, when you've got a super zoom camera and you're not actually going for crazy distances like Anthony got with the Isle of Man at 31 miles plus, when Ranty's going at sort of 15 to 20 miles, he can resolve a shitload more than Anthony can at that greater distance, especially now. So he's got a P1000. Well, that's where you can really look into the details of the picture and rip the calculator apart because it fails so badly. When you actually get out to the greater distances, at least with the P900, we're yet to see sort of 30 miles plus yet in great detail like we did with the Isle of Man with the P900. What will be the net effect on the calculations if we were to beg the question and presume we're on a sphere and then go with those perspective excluding calculations? But how often that will happen? I'm surprised it's come up now. It's only stayed with no one's blood boiling because you've gone, yeah, I don't take this as proof of a ball, but it does work out well, and I'd agree. It does.
Yeah, all right. Didn't look at it like this. I asked people in Thailand what they thought about flat Earth. Mostly didn't understand what I mean, and some of them just looked like really disgust at me and walked away. So I think my approach kind of failed.
You mean locals or backpackers?
Locals, yeah, locals, not tourists. People who live here.
And what's the general, is it
Yeah,
a globe Earth paradigm out there?
Probably they didn't even ask those questions to themselves. I mean,
it'd be interesting if you asked the other question. So if you said, rather than what do you think about flat Earth, if you said what do you think about globe Earth, and see what the reaction is.
Yeah, that's.
I should. I mean, probably they learned this at school or something like this, so they probably say, "Yeah, but what do you mean?" I mean, they probably would expect they probably would take the question as, "What do you think about the blue sky?" Right? And then like, what do you mean, right? Because they never thought about something else than a blue sky, or of course on sunset or sunrise something else, but they never thought about something else.
Sure, but the Eastern paradigm is far more recent in terms of its change from flat to sphere, right? So although it may be not even in the distant past for some of the people you'll be talking to, because they're presumably all relatively young, they'll only have known their heliocentric education, but it might have filtered through from grandparents. You just don't know.
It's newer in Asia. The heliocentric ball is at least a generation or two behind the West, generally speaking, what I find.
Right, so therefore the question phrased the other way, which is what do you think about sphere Earth, it might make them think, I don't believe in any of all that nonsense. Whereas as soon as you say flat Earth, it's just as loaded in a way.
Can you repeat the last part, please? I have kind of bad internet connection right now.
No worries.
Okay.
I think Zenda is a lesson to all globeheads. You just need to go out and get laid.
Yeah, I mean, I have something like a girlfriend where I live right now, but I think Thailand itself just made me change a little bit my mind.
Yeah.
I could think about those things a little bit more.
Are you still in Pattaya? Where are you now exactly?
Koh Samet is an island.
Koh Samui?
Close to Pattaya. Koh Samet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a little island. I already trashed a motorbike when I tried to evade a dog running in front of me.
Oh, you're gonna get so ripped off from whoever you rented it from. It's gonna cost you probably 300-400 euros.
What kind of motorbike?
Yeah, let's see.
What kind of motorbike was it?
They're just like
a kind of weak one. It looked like really old, and not really that valuable, and only a little bit of the color of the bike, and it had some scratches and so on. So I think 100 euros maybe. Otherwise, I won't accept it.
No,
So
good luck.
let's see. I have to negotiate there a little bit.
Okay, that's good.
So those dogs are really dangerous. They come in like 10 dogs, 10 wild dogs, and then start to bark and everything. And you have to be kind of careful because you never know when they attack. So let's see. But I'm keeping to look for some flat Earth evidence while I'm here, like every now and then when I see something.
I'll give you a tip. Flat Earth evidence is everywhere.
Just have to find it.
Well, you just have to find something big enough that you can see from far enough away that should be behind the curve.
Yeah. So there were like fisher boats with really, really bright green lights who attract fish with those. And it was really nice to see the lights getting farther and farther away. And then it started to like in the sunset, right? You couldn't see the light anymore, but you still could see it like a spotlight from shining from down to upwards.
Are there any lighthouses
then you
near where you are?
No, sadly not. I couldn't see any.
Are you
Maybe
not
on the other part of. Yeah, I am, but I couldn't see any. Maybe on the other part of the island. I will go watch. Maybe I can see some. Maybe rent a boat. See
Where are you? What part of the world are you in now?
Asia, Thailand.
Do you know what your nearest town is in Thailand?
Pattaya, which I can easily see from the island.
Let's see if I can find a lighthouse near you. Pattaya.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't see. I only could see lights from the buildings, so on. From the big buildings.
Well, there's a lighthouse in Pattaya on the coast, on the corner.
Is there? I haven't seen it. I mean, there has to be one. There has to be one for the ships, but I couldn't see it. I haven't been close enough to the north part of the island where I could see the lighthouse. So what should I look when I see the lighthouse? What should I look for?
Oh, they're coming to get me.
Anthony?
Hear that?
I think you're being asked a question, Anthony. Maybe he's on the phone. Just look for it, I think, Zinder.
Yeah.
Look for it. For something sticking out, yeah?
Yeah.
I will. Yeah.
Very cloudy over here in Texas all week. So
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
been
'cause
able
they're
to
hiding
go
that moon.
and do observations. Yeah.
They're hiding that moon. Has anybody seen the moon today?
Did you hear Zinder's question,
Yes.
Anthony?
I have.
No, I didn't. I was answering phone.
Okay, so he asked, when he's making the observation of this lighthouse, what specifically should he be looking for?
The point where it disappears on it behind the curve of the Earth. How far away you have to go?
All right. I think I
Let's have
won't
a
see.
look. The lighthouse at Pattaya. Let's see how big it is. Yeah.
Actually, you know what, Zinder? Just look at the culture you're immersed in. You're going to notice you're not going to find all this. Like, look at the local company logos. There's no balls like it is everywhere in the West. Look at the behavior of people. It's very.
And with that, I'm going to round out for a short break. So I'll say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!